we want this to be a much better place 10 years from now, a better life for each and every Singaporean. And that means, firstly, higher incomes, providing the opportunities for everyone to have higher pay and better jobs. We've achieved a lot in the last 10 years, not just for the average Singaporean, but even for those lower down. All countries are facing the pressure of competition from China, from India, from others around us. But we managed to keep lower-end salaries up, even after adjusting for inflation. We've got to do more. What we've achieved so far is not enough, and we've got to do more. And this means in every line of work, creating better jobs, working with businesses and unions to create better jobs so that people can earn a higher pay, up and down the ladder. Not just those at the top, but those in the middle, those in the simpler jobs. Help them improve the quality of their work, help them earn better pay. We can achieve it.
The Workers' Party believes that economic growth is meaningful only if the fruits of our growth are evenly distributed and are fairly distributed. We want to see a Singapore where each Singaporean is able to contribute to the best of their abilities and to live a dignified life.
Lower-end incomes and lower-end quality of life, if you take housing and neighborhood amenities into consideration, are far higher than anywhere else in Asia. Just do a walking around test and you'll know what I mean.
Oh, I do know what you mean. I mean, we walk around every week, and I'm not sure whether our neighborhoods are as you say they are. You know, I work with people at the bottom of the scale, and we see quite a different picture to the picture you've been painting. And I think we also need to talk about whether or not median income is a good measure of what's going on. You know, we have people in your party who are earning in the millions of dollars, and I have my lunch at the Beach Road Hawker Centre. There's a 71-year-old hawker who is earning $650 a month. Your party earns less than, your ministers earn less than that in a day. Right. So we must not look purely at what's happening at the median, but we have to drill down to the individual voters whom we are here to serve rather than just to lead.
Yes, I would agree with Vijay, because it's always the hardware that is projected to the world, but the software that we are into, the lower end of our lower income, which we should be addressing.
I think the one thing that makes us different from most other countries is that the ruling party, the PAP, is a party that cares for the average Singaporean and the lower income Singaporean. There's no other society that comes close, where 85% of those in the bottom 20% of our society own their homes, and where the bottom 20% of society receives a very substantial transfer benefits every year, far more than the taxes they pay. We have one of the most progressive tax systems in the world, and certainly amongst developed countries. So this is a government that cares for not just those at the top, those in the upper middle income group, those at the bottom, the individual hawker, the individual cleaner, the individual production worker. That's our brand of government. That's the way we will continue to run this place.
To the point about poor people, I think in any society, no matter how well we do, there will always be a segment who are trying to catch up. I think the important question is that what are we doing to help them, rather than just talking about them. I mean, if you look at the efforts that we have incurred over the last few years, some are very encouraging. You talk about workers who are stuck in jobs that don't pay very well. We have the Inclusive Growth Program. We work hard with companies. On board, there are already at least 200. And through the efforts of the Inclusive Growth Program, 20,000 workers will benefit. And I think that these efforts are what will really make a difference to the lives of low-wage workers. Instead of us just talking about them, let's put our efforts into really helping them through these very difficult but ultimately successful and effective measures.
During our house visits and when we talk to residents, cost of living definitely is the biggest issue that they have. And we feel that very often the rhetoric that we hear from the government is that, oh, cost of living is beyond our control. We are such a small country and we are influenced by external factors. But we believe there's lots of levers that the government has to control the cost of living. And I think there's a lot more that the government can do to control it.
But what lever does your party have?
Okay. Firstly, the government has the levers to control it. Things like HDB prices, that contributes to a large part to people's cost of living. One of the proposals that we have is that the cost of the HDB flats should be pegged to the median income of the Singaporeans who are eligible to buy HDB flats, it should not be pegged to the market and with a market subsidy, that's what the government calls it. Things like rentals, all are affected to a great extent by they contribute to the cost of doing business, and that contributes to people having to pay more for their goods and services.
Well, I think the open door immigration has a lot to play with it, because we are trying to get in as many immigrants as, citizens as much. I think they say that they want to be about 6 million, if I'm wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. And I think that this put a constraint to the cost of living, housing, medical, transport, school enrollment, and etc., etc. And I believe that we should look carefully to see whether do we need to have that amount of population in Singapore, because it's land constrained and we don't have hinterland.
But let's just stick to the issue of cost of living. I would like to move on now to Vincent.
Okay, can I carry on again?
A quick point.
The cost of living is maybe the privatization of all wet markets also lead to cost of living, because the wet markets, people can buy cheaper goods, but now with the privatization of all these wet markets, I think it's more expensive to buy.
Vincent, SDP stand.
Cost of living, well, I'm not surprised that that's a key issue, because, it's getting impossible to live in Singapore. We are one of the most expensive cities in the world to live in, and I don't think that's an accidental thing. I agree with Gerald that it's government has, that's part of what government is there to do, to ensure that people can live well. We have to remember, inflation is significantly high at the moment. Even the government itself is issuing alarm bells, sounding alarm bells about it. We also say that the HDB housing system should be run as a non-profit.
Okay, that's been brought up.
The cost of new houses for first-time buyers is about 23% of incomes, the cost of servicing the flat. That hasn't changed very much over time, and it's significantly lower than Hong Kong and most other cities, significantly lower than, in fact, the developed countries at large. It is cheaper to own and service the mortgage on a house in Singapore than it is in any other developed country.